You're listening to the Jiu Jitsu Lou podcast, and I'm Lou Temlett. I'm guessing you're having a good day because either you've been on the mats, considering getting on the mats, or maybe taking your child to train. I'm so happy you're here listening to this episode. Please don't tap out before the end. When you want to have fun and feel young, start training Jiu Jitsu. My guest today is a fellow teammate and blue belt in Brazilian Jiu Jitsu. I'd like to welcome James Cathro to my podcast.
Hello.
Hi, James.
Thank you for having me. I'm excited for this. It's really fun. I've never done a podcast before.
Good. Oh, it's really good, and it will make it feel very comfortable. Thank you so much for joining. I know we were on the mats training last night, and I met your lovely partner, Charlie, which is fantastic to have another female on the mats. So whether it's, your persistence in encouraging her to come along, or whether she's actually listened to this podcast and started training jiu-jitsu, that is my mission, to get
She'll
more
be listening after this.
Good. Thank you so much for joining, Charlie. Right. So, James, we trained last night, and before we started recording, we were having a conversation about King of the Hill, and you're a blue belt, I'm a white belt. When I started training, I wasn't ever sure, after learning the fundamentals, or the self-defense moves, the fundamentals, and then doing King of the Hill, I was never really sure whether I had won that match or not. So tell me a bit about your journey and your experience with kind of not knowing sometimes.
To be honest, when you start King of the Hill, you're losing most of the time anyway, because you don't know what you're doing to begin with anyway. It can get a little bit confusing, especially when, depending on how it wins, because sometimes it's obviously recover guard. Sometimes half guard doesn't count, but I think because I've kept asking, finally it is counting.
I know. I'm very grateful to you, James, because...
You're welcome. I've revolutionised Gracie Barrow Staple Hill. We now accept half guard in King of the Hill.
Yeah, I think it helps that, we're slightly shorter, and, both of us have a very strong half guard, which some of our teammates struggle to, recover from, pass, all of those things. So yes, thank you for your dedication and hard work in approving half guard as a win.
Thank you. I've had plenty of times where I've rolled with someone in King of the Hill, and I've looked up at Joanna and gone, "Who's won?" We're like, I think it's a lot of the times it comes down to, I think, if a lot of it comes from sweeps and who's on top and bottom. Yeah. And the simplest way of doing it really is just simply, if you started on the bottom and then you get to the top, doesn't matter what position you're in. Like, I've gotten on top and they've had me in a triangle, but I've got on top. I've won. Yeah. I've got the sweep, kind of. But that's the simplest way of doing it really. And then obviously just knowing whether half guard counts as a guard recovery, or whether you need to get to. I think she started saying deep half counts as well if you can't do half guard. So,
Good work. Okay, let's just explain sweeps. For those that have never been on a training mat before, this is the move. I don't know whether you ever remember doing like PE in games at school, and you're, I don't know, maybe playing rugby, because you play rugby as well, don't you, James?
Not anymore. Not for a long time.
Okay.
I broke my hand and that was it.
Okay, injuries out. But when someone's on top of you and you're trying to kind of get away, it's when you have that wonderful feeling of kind of sweeping someone and they just move and they flow away from you. That's the kind of sweep. And I know there are lots of different sweep moves with Brazilian Jiu Jitsu. Flower sweep.
Flower sweep, yeah.
What are the other ones?
It depends where you are. Like closed guard, you've got the hip bump, flower sweep. That's another one I can't remember. Pendulum sweeps, scissor sweeps. That's just closed guard. Half guard, there's a hip bump. there's the underhook where you can come on top. It's more, I wouldn't say it's necessarily a sweep. It's kind of, it depends whether you get their back or not. If they don't want to give up their back, though.
Because I do the half guard and then I kind of chop under their arm on one side. What sweep is that?
So I don't know the name for it. I know what you mean. Is you get the underhook on the close side, and you come up on an elbow, don't you? And you end up kind of on your knees next to them.
Yeah.
And then I don't know if there's a name for it. It's up to them really. It's either they stay there and you take their back, or they'll roll over and you'll get the sweep. But I don't really know the name for it.
All right.
It's just
all right. I was putting you on the spot there, James. I'm sure some of our teammates will be going.
Yeah, Lewis will know for sure. Like, Lewis knows. I think he's a human encyclopedia on jiu-jitsu.
Look, Coach Lewis, give us a call, please,
Coach Lewis. There you go. I'm sorry, Lewis. Coach Lewis. I've done it again.
And Professor Joanna.
Professor Joanna, yes.
Okay, so that's enough about sweeps and half guards. But yeah, when you start training, sometimes it's difficult to know who's won or whatever, and the kind of points and the the competition style things.
Yeah. Well, it just comes from time. Like when you like I was saying before this, I was saying just like the time on the mats, you'll learn it all eventually, and you'll get an understanding of what's what. And it's just so that jiu-jitsu, when you start, jiu-jitsu is very confusing. There's a whole load of stuff that doesn't make sense to you thrown at you, and there's a bunch of positions that you don't use in day-to-day life, unless you might do yoga and you might like be able to do splits or whatever. But it's kind of like as you go along, it's just kind of finding ways to simplify it all.
Yeah, like, absolutely.
When I try to like pass guard now, I don't think of kind of like kind of guard passing or anything. I don't think about what I'm doing, how I'm going to do it. All I do is obviously to pass guard, you need something in the, which way am I going? you need to get into this space here between your shoulder and your hip. And so I did see something on Twitter the other day from a black belt, and he calls it it's just a goal scoring area. If you can get in this area, doesn't matter how you do it, you can pass guard. And so it's like now I don't kind of go, I'm going to pass guard like this, because it might not work, might not be the right guard pass for what they're doing. And it's just kind of going, as long as I can get into this space, I've won. And it's just kind of simplifying it, making it into games within games is probably the best way to go about it.
Yeah, I liked Professor Joanna's analogy last night, saying it's like playing chess.
3D chess.
Exactly.
On a roller coaster.
With scorpions.
Yeah. It's like there's a counter to 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 a counter. Yeah, that is it. Yes, there's lots of visuals to leave you with that. I think it's all good. But I like the fact that you're thinking about where to go and what move is almost next beyond the thing that you're trying to achieve. In life or in business or in anything. If your mindset's one step ahead and what you want to do next, actually it makes it easier because you've already achieved that move in that process. So that's quite a nice way to think about it. So you've been training for a couple of years, James, quite consistently because you're a blue belt. Tell me a bit about your journey and how it's kind of been over the last couple of years for you. It's been great, actually. I've loved it. I think you say consistency. I think last summer, because I played hockey and cricket as well. During the season, so summer I play cricket, winter I play hockey. Then obviously we've got jiu-jitsu all year round, and it's funny because last summer I think I trained once a month because I was just playing cricket all the time, and it's I really missed it because I realized I was kind of falling behind. I mean, I wasn't falling behind, but I wasn't like progressing very quickly, and it's like all these other people I started with were progressing quicker, and that's how it goes with jiu-jitsu. It's like I was saying, jiu-jitsu is different to any other sport in that, most other sports in that if you look at cricket, hockey, rugby, professionally or anyway, like, as soon as you hit 30, you're kind of on your way out, apart from an elite few that manage to push on and keep going. But jiu-jitsu, it's just as long as you keep going and like keep turning up, you'll get to that level. But at the end of the day, if you keep turning up, you'll get a black belt, and you'll be good enough to do it because you've put in the time, you've put in the hours, you put in the effort.
Yes. No, that's good. It is absolutely about dedication and the time. And I know what you mean, if you miss out a few weeks and then you see other people progressing. But actually, that's really nice. So that, if you're able to kind of go, oh, yeah, whoever, you've done really well, and actually you can see the difference and the progress, to kind of share that as well, as long as they don't, return and go, actually, James, you've not progressed at all. Come on, where have you been for the last month?
Yeah. Well, it's funny because obviously I spent, what was it, a couple of weeks ago, obviously I injured my rib. So I took, I think, 2 weeks off then. And it was just kind of like, I think I turned up for the first week just to sit in the corner and watch. And I think I stayed after the fundamentals and I sat and watched the advance. So I sat there for 2 hours in the corner just watching, just because I wanted to be involved and wanted to see what was going on, just see if there's something interesting I saw that was, I can try that when I'm back, or try and use that, just so I'm not kind of like falling behind, because obviously lessons will follow on from each other.
Yeah.
But then it's just, I think I've been lucky enough that I've got 2 weeks off now, or started from last week. So then I've just been going to lunchtime classes as well, just to get the mat time back in again, just to get back up to speed and see how I'm going, see like what I can get away with doing if my rib doesn't like this, doesn't like that. So
it's usually the knee on belly that we have to avoid when our ribs are slightly more delicate. Okay, so we talked a bit about the fundamentals and King of the Hill. Now, both you and I do advanced class. I can't always stay for the advanced class, but how was it last night? Because I know your partner did the GB1 class, and it was lovely to kind of see her, and she's very agile, very active, and I know she's got 18 years of judo experience.
She does, yes.
Which
I
is
think that was
incredible.
a shock. I think it was a shock to a few people because they saw a new white belt in the room. They didn't know her. A few people have met her. She's come to a few open mats and things like that, and we went to Polaris with a few people as well. So I think a few people were surprised kind of that obviously with mount is still like a thing in like there's still crossovers between judo and jiu-jitsu. There is still some newaza, they call it, groundwork in judo. It's not kind of to the level of jiu-jitsu, but it's still used. I think a few people were surprised that she like her mount was so difficult to sweep, which was quite fun. It was quite fun to watch. But yeah, she stayed to watch the advanced class. And I think the first thing we did, I think Joanna was sorting something out, so we had a little bit of a roll, and then Joanna came and she taught Minuchi Mata, which is a judo throw, which was quite funny considering there's someone been doing judo for 18 years sat on the side. And I think the best part was I think Felix did one, and then instead of turning to Joanna, he turned to Charlie.
Oh no!
Sorry,
wanting
Professor
the
Joanna.
recognition.
He turned to Charlie just to see what it was like, and it's funny because Monday night it was Charlie's birthday, and I think I was staying, and she had her training at Bath, and I was like, because obviously they're like elites at Bath. I'm not allowed to do any, my judo's nowhere near good enough. But I was like, I could go ahead and watch. So I was like, I went ahead and watched, and it's just like the grips that they use is very different. And I was talking to her in the car just like about the grips and stuff. She's like, yeah, the grips you use, like you can use them, but these grips are better. So I was there last night. I was like, oh yeah, like I started using the grips I saw at judo, and it did go better. Like it felt better. And I told Felix, I was like, yeah, like grab this instead. And
okay, we don't need to give Coach Felix any more tips and hints.
We don't, no, because then during the advanced class I rolled with him and he just kept choking me. It's my fault for putting my head in bad places. I could get away with it with a lot of people, but Felix is very good at taking advantage of it.
I love that. This is the Jiu Jitsu Lou podcast with me, Lou Temlett, coming to you from the UK. And today I'm talking with James Cathro, blue belt in BJJ from Bristol. So the fundamentals, not giving Coach Felix any more tips and hints. when someone's very good at Kimuras and you can kind of see all the moves coming on, and then the room cheers during open mat because he yet again has mastered a very complex move, as well as, you know, I can't even remember what move it was. It was a Kimura something last Sunday.
Oh, it's like a Kimura triangle. Which Coach Felix and I call it Old Faithful because he's so good at getting to it, and he just gets everyone with it.
Yeah, and it doesn't take very much to give up a little bit of space here or there, and you're done for.
Yeah, but, I mean, last night he did try to get it to me, and I think because I've rolled with him so many times now, I know what his game is. I think the problem was when I first started rolling with him was that it's obviously like he's got a setup, and he kind of goes from one thing to another to another to another to another, and eventually he'll get you. And I think first time it's just like standard Kimura. I was like, okay, fine. Start defending Kimura, then he'll get you with like a triangle. So it's like, okay, so you defend the Kimura, then you defend the triangle, then he goes back to a Kimura, and it's this kind of thing. And so it's like it was I think last night I defended the Kimura. I knew what was coming next. It was going to be the triangle. So I've just balled up. I've just lain on the floor, hugged his arm in a little ball, just so he can't get his foot in. I just said, no, you're not getting your foot in because I know what's going to happen.
I know what the problem is actually. What he's doing, he only has the Kimura triangle in his mind, and all the other moves are kind of done and dusted. He just has to get there. I love it.
Yeah,
anyway.
Well, again, it's the Kimura grip, such a powerful grip. But I've started using it as well when I can get it, and it's just if you've got that grip, you've essentially they can't go anywhere. They need to be really careful as to where they go. Otherwise, they're going to get swept. They're going to get Kimura. They'll get Kimura triangled. And it's there are so many options off of it, and Felix has gotten very good at using those.
Yeah, I do love training and rolling with different people, especially ones more advanced than me, because I will go back to dancing. If you dance with, dancers that have more experience than you, you get to learn and feel what it's like to, achieve those things. But in jiu-jitsu, if you're rolling with someone more advanced that, might have an armbar specialism or a Kimura specialism or a whatever, actually, that it's probably coming. And if you give up anything, in my mind, actually, I need to shift my mindset, but I feel like I've already given up, and you go, oh no, it's coming. I can feel a sweep coming on.
Yeah, that's the thing, isn't it? It's like when someone's so good at something and you have an idea of how they set it up, you get very worried about this one thing, and then then you're so concerned about this one thing that they'll then go do something else, and you'll be like, how have I just let them do that to me? Because you're so obsessed with this. Because again, last night rolling with Coach Felix, it's like I knew he pulled guard, and it's like I knew if I didn't engage right or didn't pass right, he was going to submit me. Like I knew that he had an answer, or an idea of what I was going to try to do, and I knew what he was going to try to do to me, and so it became a game of kind of like cat and mouse. And then after I spoke to him, I was just like, I don't want to engage you because I know that you're going to do this to me. And he's like, yeah, but it's like I don't want to engage you because you're so quick. And it's like I know that you'll move side to side, you'll try to do something quickly, and it's just kind of like we both kind of stood there for a couple of seconds every time, just going, right, who's going to make the first move and what's going to happen? And then every time he made the first move, because I was still wondering how I was going to do and what he was going to try and attack me with. But
oh, I love it. At the top of the show, I mentioned, if you want to have fun and feel young, start training jiu-jitsu. And I know that, almost all of us have so much fun on the mats. And, I know you kind of mentioned community, and I've mentioned it before, having a group of individuals that have a common kind of learning and process. But, I'm in my mid-40s. I know a lot of you are in your kind of early mid-20s. I feel, like I'm still pretending like I'm in my 20s because I'm, doing some of these moves. And I will continue to kind of have fun and feel young in that mindset. And I think that's one of the things that, I started training when I was 45. And I tend not to think or very much about age, but obviously, you know, I have my 2 young children that train, and life is progressing very quickly. But I think jiu-jitsu is one of those sports, like you say, you know, if you're 30, in other sports, that's kind of you done. But jiu-jitsu is one of those kind of lifelong things. And I know there's lots of people that are a lot older and a lot younger. And, you know, to be able to have something under your belt, or, you know, stripes on your belt, so to speak, as you progress through a sport, it's just rewarding, as well as kind of meeting up. I know we've got a social coming up this week, which will be fun. But, you know, like I've said, my mission is to encourage more women to think about getting on the mat. So I'm really pleased that your partner Charlie has taken that step. And hopefully many more, you know, friends and relatives and, you know, colleagues and whoever will start training. But it's a great sport. Do you have any tips for any prospective blue belts, James?
Prospective blue belts,
as in white belts.
White belt tips for white belts.
Yes,
I think it would be have fun, and by have fun, I mean it's like, there's always, the thing with jiu-jitsu is there's always someone better than you. There's always someone better than you, and it's like I feel closer to a white belt than I do to Felix. Like Felix is still a blue belt. He's got 4 stripes, but I feel closer to a white belt than that. Like the gap between us, I feel like it's that, and I'm fine with that. So when I roll with Felix and he submits me, I go, okay, like cool. Like I tried not to, like try my best, whatever, get back up, like slap bump, let's go again. And I kept going, keep going. Like, don't worry about being submitted or any of this. Just go with the flow, I guess, is the best thing to say. With all the emphasis we're trying to put on kind of just flow rolling and just going with it. Like you're not gonna be able to submit everyone straight away. The amount of information that's thrown at you and the understanding like you need to be able to start doing it is a lot. It takes time. And all it is just keep turning up. I can remember when I started and I was losing in King of the Hill like almost every week because I couldn't do it. Everyone was better than me, like, and that's fine. Like they've been there longer, they've been doing it more. And I remember the first time I think it was a King of the Hill. And I think it was recovering half guard or something like that, and I did it. And I was so happy with myself. And it was just a great feeling. It's just like it's like I said, it's a game within a game. Just break things down. Just say this, like, so if I do this, like that's a win for me. Like if I have to make them try, that's a win. If they're trying to do this and I stop it, but they still manage to get me something else, I stop the first thing. That's a win. And that's the way to I think break things down. Just don't forget the big picture and all of this information being thrown at you. Like you're never going to be able to take it all in at once. Like we drill something one class, we might build on it again the next class, but after that we're moving on to the next thing. Like in your free time, you're not going to be able to grasp everything at once. So just if you can take something, take a small thing, even if it's just the defense of something, then just try to use that. And if you do it, like if it fails, well, like it's not going to work every time. But then next time try it again, and you'll get better and better and better at it over time. And eventually, once you do it, like that's going to be a great feeling, and it'll be a win.
Absolutely. I love that. Breaking down to small wins, you know, for me, you know, some weeks and days, it's a win actually getting to class and stepping on the mats. That's as much as a win that I want that particular day or week, you know, but obviously being able to submit is another story, but there are other smaller levels between that. And I think it's really helpful for you to share that actually to have smaller wins within that rather than completely smashing your opponent during King of the Hill or whatever it happens to be. And like you say, you know, it's a long game. It's a lifetime of learning. And we'll only get there with the amount of time we're training and the amount of dedication that we're kind of putting into the sports.
Yeah, it's like people say, if you win all the time, you're not learning anything.
Yeah.
Like if you're not losing, then nothing's going. If you're winning all the time, then well, as far as you're aware, nothing's going wrong. But then one day, someone better than you will come along, and you'll lose, and then you'll be wondering what's going on. And it's like losing's fine. Losing's a part of the sport.
Yeah.
It happens.
Yeah.
Like during King of the Hill, for example, I don't mind trying other things and losing, because I've tried it. I've gone, okay, what went wrong, or what can I do better? And next time I come round, I can try it again and be like, okay, this is what went wrong last time, so let's try and get it right this time. And yeah.
Good. That's fantastic attitude, James. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
We will wrap up this episode. I'm really pleased that you were here. I hope you enjoyed listening to this episode as much as I did recording it. I look forward to having you listening in again for the next episode. And in the meantime, it would really help me if you could rate, review, and download this episode. Thanks very much. Bye.